Again, an estimated 8 billion tons of plastic has been manufactured to date. A lot of that is either in the environment or in landfills. Now, scientists say converting waste plastic could beat coal as an energy source. How is this possible? Well, to tell us more is researcher James Fox, who's joining us this afternoon. James, good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time. So you've done some research to show that waste plastic can be used as a source of energy. Why did you look to plastic? Can we begin there? Why were you investigating waste plastic in particular?
Certainly. Well, there's been a lot of other research, environmental research, regarding the accumulation of waste plastic in the environment. Waste plastic is a very stubborn material that doesn't go anywhere. So we are faced with this problem of, since the waste plastic has a lifetime in the environment of hundreds and potentially even as long as 1,000 years, we need to get rid of it somehow. We need to do something with it. And one of the solutions we were looking into is, well, if we need to get rid of this plastic, why not get energy out of it? Why not convert it into energy?
So you can't recycle it?
Well, you certainly can recycle it. And indeed, recycling is a very important part of any waste management strategy. And we are definitely not advocating that we stop recycling. In fact, we very much should increase our recycling capacity. However, the main issue is that recycling does not actually solve the problem of waste plastic. Even waste plastic can only be recycled a very finite amount of times. You're looking at, probably on a best case, you can recycle an individual piece of plastic 10 times, and then it's just so beat up, so damaged that you have to discard it. And it's that plastic that is the problem. That plastic is what will become the microplastics in the environment. And that is the plastic that we are seeking to convert to energy.
Okay, so how do you? Okay, so how can you do that? How can you convert this problematic microplastic in the environment into useful energy?
Well, our first step is we undergo chemical reactions to convert the waste plastic into a different kind of chemical. That chemical we can then insert into engines, which can then drive turbines, which then generate the electricity. So we very much admit that the waste plastic doesn't eliminate carbon dioxide, for instance, but it's better than coal. So for every ton of coal that you produce at least half a ton of carbon dioxide. But plastic does better. It's less than that.
So from a carbon emissions perspective, it would be good. Would it make economic sense to throw in your weight into that process?
Well, that is a very good question, and at the moment we don't have enough technological development to really make that call for certain. It does seem that way, that it can be a very good economic idea. For instance, we can even import waste plastics from first world countries to fuel our own energy creation, and you could charge them for a service of removing their waste material. So we can charge them to take away waste. We use that waste to generate our own power.
Yeah, okay. Besides the science of it, as you said, and testing this theory a little bit more, would some legal instruments be required, some change of regulation? I mean, the world, in terms of environment and protecting our environment, has got a number of what you call them, conventions and stuff like that.
Yes, the main one that concerns us here in this discussion is the Basel Convention, which prevents the transport of large amounts of waste plastic for the purposes of for energy generation. The only way that the Basel Convention allows us to transport these waste plastics around the globe is if they are very thoroughly cleaned and go through a significant processing. But this is very important when you are just recycling. But if your goal is to create energy out of the waste plastic, we actually don't need to go through the significant processing in the first place. But the Basel Convention doesn't actually allow us to do this at the moment.
So that's one of those that would have to change. So your research, I mean, what would you anticipate to do next? Because I mean, the headline that I saw in the report in the media was "Waste Plastic Could Beat Coal as an Energy Source." It's a very attractive headline, and we know that South Africa currently is calling for a just transition in terms of our coal-fired power stations. You know, we are currently in the middle of yet another round of power cuts by Eskom. In fact, from about 15 minutes time until 10 o'clock tonight, we'll have stage 2 of load shedding in terms of the plans by Eskom, yet another power cut session. So what do you anticipate should happen next? Because this is very interesting research.
Yes, the next steps that we are actually currently working on as we speak is we are currently doing the technological development on the conversion of the waste plastic into the other chemical I mentioned, and we actually have a fair amount of research funding involved in carrying out those studies. And once we understand the optimization of how to convert waste plastic into a combustible gas, the next step is then feeding that into gas turbines, which can generate electricity. And that is something we are working on as we speak.
Do you think it's going to be easy to harvest that chemical?
It's not without its technical challenges, but the technical issues are a comparatively simple issue. The main technical issue we're facing is that plastics are very stubborn. They don't react or move around very easily without significant force to make them change form. But that is something we are looking at now.
Yeah, and I mean, we know that the infiltration of microplastics, as you said, into environment and into our bodies as well, pretty dangerous stuff. Well, we wish you well, James, and you and your team of researchers, and who knows, in the near future we'll be talking again to find out the progress you are making in this matter. James Fox, a researcher there with UNISA, he's part of a group of researchers who've come up with this idea that microplastics can in fact be converted and transformed into a new chemical that can beat coal as a source of energy, and they'll carry on with their research.